Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Rick's pointing at me in the green room saying, dude, you're live, go, we're live. I am so excited to be here with you, my friends. We have a fabulous conversation we are going to have today. Oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. And interactive to make sure you understand the interactive aspect of what we're doing. Thank you, Mr. John Powell. John Powell was in here early putting in his comments saying, John Powell from Richmond. Thank you, John. Virginia Automotive Services. Hey, Rick, if you'll throw those up here as I read them. John Powell from Richmond. Super awesome. Glad you're here, my friend. Good to see you here early this morning. And Dan Cardinal Plaza Shell, Springfield, Virginia. Virginia's in the house. What's going on? And then Steve Parker, good morning from Gilroy, California. Thank you, Steve. Glad you are here with us. So those of you that are watching this broadcast live, go ahead and throw in the comments where it is you are joining us from today. We are streaming live on Facebook. We're streaming live on YouTube. And this information is going to be out there present for all of us concerned that we can be part of this conversation. Super excited to have you here. There are more than 3 of you watching this right now, by the way. Mom, go ahead. You can put in that you're from Idaho Falls. That's cool. Mom, you can. Okay, maybe she'll do that later. KUKUI Carl, Renton, Washington. Carl, glad you're here. Good to see you are in the house. We've also got Howard Chan from Burlingame, California. Carlo from Reading, Pennsylvania. Awesome. Carlo, glad you're here. Danny from San Francisco. And our brothers and sisters from the north, have we gone international yet? Any Canada here? Well, as soon as you get in, put in here where you're joining us from. It's super exciting, super awesome. I love getting the shout outs for those who are joining our Shop Owner Success webinar series, talking about what makes you awesome as a shop. What makes you awesome? What has helped you to see success in your shop? You know, there's always this conversation about a recipe. And I heard this conversation in church the other day. There was this recipe that this sister always brings, cookies, chocolate chip cookies, and they are the best in the world. And everyone always asks her for her cookies, her cookie recipe. And she said, okay, yeah, I'll bring the recipe and I'll let you all have it. Well, come back the next week and somebody is upset. You lied. That's not the recipe. You didn't give us the right ingredients. It's not right. You didn't do it right. And she says, you know what? I'll come over to your house, Sister Jones, and let's sit down and let's go through the recipe and make sure that you are using everything that I specified. She gets over to Miss Jones' house and they sit down to go through these cookies. It calls for Ghirardelli chocolates. Oh, but you don't have Ghirardelli chocolate. You have Hershey chocolate? Okay. So you substitute that in. Oh, it calls for fresh flour and you're using day-old flour or week-old or month-old or year-old flour. Do you see how following that recipe is extremely important? Well, we're going to talk about that recipe today with AJ Nealey. It's going to be awesome. And thank you goes out to KUKUI for sponsoring this. And those of you who get to see us at a trade show, here's our Light Bright. Thank you, Rick, for setting that up for us. That's super awesome. KUKUI is an all-in-one success platform. We help you as shop owners to be the best you can possibly be. We come from the automotive industry. And when we couple that together with our developers that are the best of the best in the industry to develop software for the automotive industry, we are bringing to you a successful platform that will prove what marketing is working and what marketing doesn't work. We even have the ability for you to listen to your phone calls so you can see and hear what you sound like to the public. And maybe it's not you that's answering the phone. Maybe it's your service advisor that's answering the phone. What are they saying? Are they following your script? Are they following your guidelines? It's a great way to see all that. Also joining us today, and we got to give a few more shout outs that are joining late and putting in the information here. Jennifer in San Mateo, California. Trevor in Kansas City. Dale in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm going super quick here. So Rick's like flicking. Dale in Atlanta, Georgia. And Mr. Joe Sievert's in the house. Joe, I-70 Auto. So glad you're here. And yes, the Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs. That was an amazing game. Loved that game. Back to our kukui, back to our recipe. Oh, this is where I should have told you the recipe story about the cookies, but you know what? I get a little excited, and there you go. My name is Jimmy Lea. I am Kukui. I'm bringing you some awesome information today. And joining me today is the ever present, ever awesome chief cheerleader, Mr. AJ Nealey. AJ, glad to have you here, brother.
Hey, it's great to be here, Jimmy. I didn't realize it'd be such a crowd out here. I think I got some nervous sweats going on, but I think we'll make it through.
We're going to do great, man.
We're going to do great.
Because really and truly, between you and me, this is between you and me.
Yeah, exactly. It's a conversation.
I mean, it's not exactly like two guys standing between a fern.
Yeah. Oh, we could do that too.
We could
do that. And yeah, if I had some hair, but I did bring some hair just in case, the glare was too much. So we're good to go. Yeah.
Perfect. So. Yeah. You got the curls going on. You know what? Your haircut is a little short. If they can just go ahead and put some back on.
I figured it'd be great. Yeah. I don't have to, not much to do in makeup over here. So it's good.
No, not much to do in makeup. So question number one is, why did you start your business? Why did you get into automotive? Was this always your plan, or did you have other ideas in mind?
Yeah, good question. I was passionate about this at a really early age. I kind of blame Legos, when I was 5, working with my hands, putting things together. I think I always kind of had that mechanical bug at a really young age, and it kind of translated as I grew up, racing RC cars, building RC cars, kind of racing with my dad a little bit, and then getting my driver's license, getting, my first set of wheels, and just having that curious mind, right? Like, how did things work? How does a clutch work? And my dad, he was really illustrative, so he'd draw out how a clutch would work, and I'd ask about how do these drum brakes work? He'd pull the wheel off, take it apart. We'd look in there and check, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So right out of high school, my first full-time job, I landed my dream job working as a technician right out of high school. I dabbled in college for a year and realized I didn't want to sit behind a desk for the rest of my life. So I dropped out of college, went back to that job, and just started my career early. And again, I knew what I wanted at a really young age, which helped me a lot. That was my passion. And so I put all my energy into that. And I always knew really at an early age that I did want to start my own business at some point. And at the same time that I was, working as a technician, I also kind of was working towards, through a racing career, kind of got up to a semi-professional level. And when I realized when that horizon for my racing career was going to end, I thought that was a perfect opportunity to quit my day job. I had actually moved into a house. I live here in Edgewater, Maryland. Had a 1-bay garage behind my house. The first 2 words in the home description was mechanic's dream. I was like, oh, I got to check that out. So I didn't care about the house so much. I really cared about the garage. Had a little urinal in the back and everything. I was like, this is perfect. So I had some side work, out of there. I was moonlighting as a technician. I realized I had enough work that I could kind of sustain and go on my own. And, I wanted to do it differently. I knew the your car is like your inanimate pet of the family, right? When it goes down, things are stressful. So, what can we do to remove the stress in your life? People would rather go get root canal work done than go visit an automotive repair shop. And that, knowing that that's what we're up against, I'm like, shoot, I think I can win over, root canal auto repair. I think I can just, let's beat that a little bit. So, one-man band, right? When I started my shop, that was in 2011. I worked out of that one bay garage behind my house. And I didn't really take it seriously until 2014, 2015, when that's really at the time I learned about RLO training. And I learned about, they had a course called the Guerrilla Shop Management course. It's like a boot camp, just like grinding away, putting in the time. Like, it's kind of like going to night school again. So I knew everything about working on cars, knew nothing about running a business. And that was the start of this just like legit, just meteoric growth trajectory for me. And I knew that what I was learning from that class and from taking that boot camp was, wow, there is a better way. This is how you can be the upper end of the spectrum. Because the shop that I worked at before, it was like a factory of auto repair. I mean, we were going through like 90 cars a day at its peak. When I left, 9 bays, 9 technicians. We were parts changers, right? We were just a factory of auto repair. But I realized, wow, you could slow down the activity. You could do proper inspections. Instead of car count, you can make every car count. And that was the business model that I really wanted to implement and move on, and not be an activity-based shop. So that's, I guess, in a nutshell, without ranting too much, I guess you could say that's why I started. So
right. So and your first shop, I mean, you're going from shade tree, the garage in the back, you're
Yeah.
going into a building. What did the building look like? How many bays? How many techs? What was that starting process? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, and that was its own journey, right? So I took the boot camp, right? Kind of graduated from that class. John Waffler, an absolute mega legend in the industry. Now training is now the Institute,
Yeah.
and John Waffler, like I didn't have the revenue. First year I was working behind my house, generated $93,000 in sales. Next year was like 170. Next year was like 300K. So I'm like, I didn't have the revenue again as one person, didn't have the revenue to get into the group. So John Wofford was kind of holding my hand, knowing that I'm going to continue to grow, knowing that I'm going to, qualify to get into a bottom line impact group. And so at that time, I knew I got to get out of this one bay garage. What's out there, and any sane individual would tell you, AJ, there's no way you're going to be able to buy any property. You're going to need to lease a location. Start looking and start with that mindset. So I did. I looked at some locations I thought that we would rent. But I knew what I wanted. And there was this shop like quarter mile down the street from my house. And it was this 9-bay shop. And I remember just my test drive route. I'd come by the shop like every day. I'm looking in there. I see the same 4 vehicles in the same 4 bays. There's absolutely no activity going on. I'm like, what
3
is
inches
the deal?
of dust.
Oh my goodness. It was just, it was. It's a junkyard. It's a complete junkyard. So
Weeds hip
yeah.
high.
Yeah, and we were really close to get leasing a location in Edgewater, and it fell through at the last minute. I remember I just had this like God moment that hit me. It was like, holy crap, this was meant to be. My heart was tugging in this direction. Like, whatever it takes, I'm gonna get 74 Mayo Road. That's the address. And so it turns out, and also too, I'm like looking for commercial brokers that like. I'm just a guy behind my house. I got nothing to my name. I got nothing in the bank. I just have a dream, a vision, and a lot of grit and determination, perseverance. And I have a good way of just getting that energy out so people can kind of feel and see that passion. But I found a commercial broker that believed in me. He started digging, finding some info on it. Turns out the owner of that property had passed away. They're transitioning that property into his wife's name, and it's going to go on the market in a month. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So we get down there. We do a on-site visit. We tour the location, and the best analogy I can come up with is in Ghostbusters, right? When they're looking at that firehouse they want to get, and Ray's just like, he's all like energetic. It's like, we should sleep here tonight, try it out. Like, and that's how I kind of felt, with this location. Complete dump. I mean, I wish I kind of shared you some photos so you could throw it out in the slideshow, but it's just a complete dump. I'd use other 4-letter words about this location, but I saw that this is a diamond in the rough. This is what I want. This is how we can live out the dream and start, get out of my house get up from behind my house and really start this location. So we look at it, and I'm looking at my broker right dead in the face, and I'm like, okay, I want it. What's it going to take? He's like, well, you're gonna have to come up with $1 million from a commercial bank, because they're not going to go SBA. It's too long. So you got to come up with $1 million, and in 30 days. I'm like, game on, let's go. So built a business plan, reached out to some local banks. I was pulling on every string of network that I had at my disposal. And then I found a rep from a local Bank of America branch. She just saw something in me. She saw it like, holy crap, you got a business plan? Like no one does that, in this industry. So had a business plan, brought the passion, brought the fire, had all my research, just working, all out. Again, I still got to pay the bills, right? So I'm working as a tech behind my house. Meanwhile, still working on this side hustle that, again, just putting in the work, grinding away, put the business plan together. I dealt with a couple banks, but this one rep from Bank of America gave us a commitment letter by the end of the month. But also I had to secure like 15% down on this as an owner occupier. So I'm like, where am I going to come up with like 150 grand? So in conversation with my own customers, because I was a one-man band working on every car, interacting with every customer, they knew that I wanted to grow and get out of this one bay garage. And it's amazing. I never like actively solicited for funds to help with this down payment. But in conversation, I had 3 private investors just literally throw up thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars towards this like kind of like down payment fund. And just
Dang.
blown away and blessed about like the position I was in. And like, you know, again, if anyone's read that book, The Alchemist, like my big takeaway from that book is like, if you want something bad enough, the universe will conspire to make it a reality. And things were just lining up in the right way. So literally September 30th was on a Friday. We put in an offer, and just to seal the deal, I wrote a heartfelt letter to the seller telling her like, look, I'm trying to live my dream. I have a vision. Da, 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 da. And then I had to wait that excruciating weekend as she went through the other offers and tried to determine which deal she was going to take, because I was up against cash buyers and stuff. So Monday comes around, really, you know, nervous sweats going on over that weekend. I get a call from my broker, and we threw in an offer for $975. She took our deal and countered for 75 grand less. So for 900 grand, she was willing to take less from us so we could live out this dream. And I was just flabbergasted, blown away. But this just step one. You know, now we gotta continue the I told you it was a dump, right? And,
yeah,
you know,
you gotta paint it, you gotta kill the weeds, you gotta get rid of the cars.
All I'll say is environmental. And I'm young and dumb. Ignorance is bliss. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just like getting into the throes and just figuring it out. And then I'm like, oh, you have to what's a phase one? What's that mean? You know, what's a phase two environmental study? So we got a phase one done. There was a rap sheet on this place. There was like anonymous tips about this place dumping oil in the creek behind the shop. Like, there were parts everywhere. So then they did a phase two. They come in, they're drilling, right? They got all these like big machines, or just like checking for underground storage tanks and everything. They found 4 underground storage tanks. They had another tank that had oil leaking. There was an oil tank, like a heating oil tank, that leached oil into the ground. It was near the well, so they're worried about that. They got a 2,000-gallon underground gas tank. Apparently, it used to be a gas station back in the day. And then we've got the in-ground lifts that weren't decommissioned correctly, that they, you know, all this contaminated soil. So meanwhile, we spend 6 months. So from the time they accepted the offer to when we closed on it, it was the end of April of the following year of 2016. And it almost went south a couple times because they were who was going to pay for this, right? But you know, you pay lawyers at the time, like, gosh, I'm paying a lot of money, right? But there's a reason you pay for that representation, because the way they set the deal up is we would go to closing, put all the funds into an escrow account, and pull from that account to pay for any environmental remediation. So really nothing out of my pocket. So we go to close, and then we start the environmental remediation. We start digging. And where they thought there was just a bunch of contaminated soil, the guys come in with a backhoe and clunk, they hit another tank they didn't even know about. They stop all work because they were like, oh, well, what's in this tank? It was a 1,000-gallon tank sitting in the corner. And the guy pulled the bung off. I'll say this. I was glad it was the summertime by the time it started, because if school was in session, they would have had to evacuate it. It was a school right behind it. The smell was so bad. The guy had been working for like 20 years doing environmental remediation. He pulled the bung off. And he's smelling this. He's like, dude, I'm like, why did you put your head in there? Like, he doesn't even know what it is. Like, he's like, this is the worst smell I've ever. I'm doing this so long. Like, so they had a vac truck sitting there. The vac truck guy wouldn't even suck it up. He's like, I don't know what's in there. So meanwhile, all work stops. They do a characterization study on this stuff. They send it out. You know, we wait like, weeks to get back, what's in there. Anyway, it's off the charts for PCBs. This is like a known carcinogen. They banned this substance in 1979, and they put it in transformers and old transmission fluid. So this was a transmission shop a long time ago. So all we can think about is this filled with all this old transmission fluid. And then, so now meanwhile, we're negotiating, well, who's going to pay for this tank? And so anyway, we get through all that. Seller's still paying for this. And like, not anyone in the world takes this stuff, right? Only 4 places in the United States take this stuff that's in this tank. And they so they come down with a Isuzu truck. They're literally wearing the biohazmat suit. I'm talking like, this looks like Breaking Bad material, man, from the Winnebago. So they're wearing the suits. They're coming in. They're sucking this stuff out in these 55-gallon drums in the back of this Isuzu rental truck. They have to truck it to Houston, Texas. And they have
from Maryland?
From Maryland. They go to Houston, Texas. They got 3 drivers. They got to like inform all the local counties and state about what they're coming in with. And they get down there, and who knows what they do with it there. They probably just drop it in the field somewhere. I don't know how they get rid of this stuff, but man, just like all this stuff with environmental that you're dealing with, and like who's paying for it, and like all the dumpsters that were on site. I had like 9 dumpsters, like good soil, bad soil, good concrete, bad concrete, like, you know, the tanks, like, and then you got to like coordinate with the local department of the environment. He's got to be on site while the tank comes out. If he's not there, no work gets done. It's like, you know, you're learning all this stuff, and and then meanwhile, I still got to work on cars in my house. So I'm like, oh my, you're dealing with all this stuff. So meanwhile, like, you're still putting in 8 hours a day at the house, dealing with this distraction over here, getting this all built. But anyway, after we closed at the end of April, we opened our doors 2.5 months later, you know, new floors, got some equipment up. You know, we just really took care of the shop, just those first 4 bays. It was a 9-bay operation, but we really just wanted to get those first 4 bays, an office kind of cleaned up, painted, and we opened our doors. And here we go. And that's shop 1. And this was August of 2016 that we opened our doors at the first location.
Dude, that's like a hop, skip, and a jump. That's yesterday.
Yeah.
It's really not that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago. No, it was fun times.
Yeah. And so we're going to have to talk about this remediation stuff, because my dad in Las Vegas, general contractor, built gas stations, pulled out gas stations, did the remediation on the soil.
Yep.
I'll tell you a little bit of the process is they'll take it out in a field, put it on a slab of concrete, mix it with wood chips, introduce termites.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Wood chips absorb the oil, termites eat the wood, then they kill all the termites. I mean, that's a great way of saying thank you, but you know,
sacrificial element there. Yeah. Wow.
And you just have to keep digging until you get to good soil.
Exactly. So
I'm amazed you finished in 6 months.
Well, they finished the work in a week. The major work that was done. So this one tank,
and there's a big hole.
Yeah, this one tank was the one that we had to wait on for the longest, but it wasn't in the way of impeding on getting the rest of the shop done. But the one heating oil tank was the big holdup to getting that, what they call that no further action letter from like the Department of the Environment said, okay, this is the best we can do. But because it was so close to the well, and because it went down so far, you could just see it, the blue in the soil, and smell the heating oil. So they actually had to do surveys of all the wells in like a certain radius. And it just took time, you know, it's like all that studying and stuff. And at the end of the day, the water wasn't contaminated. It was all good, but they dug as far as they could. But man, I'm getting flashbacks over here, by the way. So it's
wild. No, I feel the anxiety. It's reaching up there.
Learned a lot.
I even hesitate to ask this next question because of that's a huge accomplishment what you just went through.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the biggest accomplishment you've had in your career as a shop owner?
Well, you know, I think, you know, focusing on that first location, and I think everyone has a story, right? If this was easy, everybody would do it, right? And my story is any shop owner out there has a story. And so that's just my story about getting my first one up and running. But, you know, my biggest accomplishment, I think it's the little things I look back, because, you know, fast forward to today, we're at 5 locations. I mean, in August of 2021, we were still at, you know, 1 location. We finally opened our second store, and then now we're at 5. So we went from 1 to 5 in 18 months. So just meteoric growth in itself. But I think the biggest accomplishment, the stuff that I love, is, you know, being at, you know, I don't even know how many employees we have now, like 30 to 35, somewhere in there. But the lives are, you know, our core purpose at the end of the day is impacting lives, right? And I think the biggest accomplishment, the stuff that I love seeing, is it's not the 30 employees that you're supporting, it's the 30 families, right? It's the wives, the spouses, the kids. You know, I can't, you know, on one hand, I can't count. I need 2 hands, 3 hands to count how many employees we've had that have bought a house, you know, or had a kid, you know. And to me, it's like, wow, you know, like just that gratitude, you got to take a step back and be like, you know, what we get to create here, you know, in this business, gets the ability for people to thrive and really grow, personally, professionally. And I think that's the greater accomplishment, right? It's stuff, you know, and you know, I think of opening the store. It's like a thing, right? That's an inanimate object that you just build, you just deal with. But when it comes to accomplishment, I think it's really the people, right? It's the customers that we attract. It's the culture we've created. It's the employees that we have that live out that culture and have adapted to it and live it every day. I think ultimately that's the biggest accomplishment right there.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. And the other day when we were talking, you talked about a quote from Steve Jobs. You remember what we were talking about?
Yeah, and you're probably going to have to there. Bam, thank you. Yeah, we believe people with passion can change the world for the better, and we believe that those people are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that actually do. And that's the thing. Back to that passion piece, right? No sane person would look at what I was doing and be like, it just doesn't make sense. Like no one would get it. Like because any sane person, if they're also going through that, they would just give up. But the passion is what gives you that drive and that you have that perseverance and that grit and determination to see it through because there's something greater on the other side. It's not in front of you. There's something on that other side. On the other side of that hill, it's the light that you're headed towards. That's the North Star right there. That's where I'm going. And others don't see it. It's the stuff I would go to bed, at the moment, just go like grinding, putting in those 20 hours and just going to bed and be like, man, what a day. And guess what we get to do tomorrow? We get to do it all over again. Like, let's continue to grind and drive and build this. And it's just, it's thrilling. That's the stuff you go to bed thinking about is you like literally visualizing like what that future looks like 5, 10, 20, 50 years. I mean, I talked about this with you before, but like everybody has a book they're writing. And I turned 40 this year, 39 right now, not even halfway through my book. I want to live to 100. I want to die young at an old age, right? And I'm halfway through my book. I get the ability to write the rest of my life and write what that looks like. And it's thrilling. That's the stuff I love.
Oh, it is so cool. It is so cool. And for all those that are watching right now, can you feel the passion of this guy coming through can you feel the love and the passion and the attentiveness he has to his entire business? So I was counting, you saw me counting there for a second. In 7 years, you went from backyard, garage, shade tree to brick and mortar to 5 locations, 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. It's crazy.
And the goal, well, now we'll talk about the goal here in a minute because before we get into that, what's your advice? And I've got another question I'm going to throw up on the for everybody to see. What's your advice that you would give to the guy that's starting out?
Yeah,
the guy that is in that one bay in the backyard, or the guy that's still turning wrenches for somebody else at 10 cars a day, just really cranking it.
Right.
What advice do you have to that person that is wanting to get started?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You follow your heart, right? At the end of the day, follow your heart, and if there's a tug that's occurring down in here in your gut, follow it and do it, and don't squash it, don't squander it. Go for it, right? But and you'll learn along the way. Like even like people that own a single store and thinking about multi-store ownership, they want to get everything just right at that first store, right? And it's not. Don't think of it that way, right? Like you need to just get in there and figure it out. Break stuff, learn, repeat, right? And just learn from your mistakes as you're growing and going. And so, I think ultimately, if you have that passion, that fire, and that grit and determination to want to make a difference, right? I think the widget that we are just in and that we talk about all the time, it's auto service, but it could be anything. And at the end of the day, the foundation at a foundational level, it's all the same, right? And so it has to be a mindset of never give up. You will run into challenges. It is going to suck. It will strain your marriage. It will strain your family. It will strain everything. But it's for a greater good, right? It's the ability to impact those, and people won't get what you're doing, right? And that's the other thing too. You may lose friends, right? It will be lonely. You will be lonely. And so just continue to have that curious mind, seek others that have done it, learn from them. I always say, I want to be the dumbest guy in the room. And I want to rub shoulders with the best of the best. Right. And so I think that proximity principle is huge too. Just ask questions, get the room. If there isn't a seat, make one. Right.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about it being a lonely journey. You're going to be alone, but at the same time, you're saying seek out that group. What is that group? Yeah. Where do we find like-minded individuals that are crazy and passionate, just like we are, receiving intuition and inspiration, which might be confused for indigestion, but it's not.
Yeah.
Where do we find those people?
And I'll say this, I will give a lot of credit to my family, just creating that curious mind in me growing up, always asking questions. And it's funny, on the Clifton Strengths Finders, input is my number one strength, right? I got to get data. I have to bring stuff in, and that curious mind feeds that for me. So yeah, like I knew that when I really wanted to take this industry seriously and start my own shop. At the time, I owned a job. I didn't own a business. So it's the first aha moment for me was reading E-Myth by Michael Gerber, the entrepreneurial myth,
Love
my
it.
first ever business book. And I always push that book to everyone that's kind of starting this journey. Read that, because the bulb will click. You need to build a machine, right? You can't be the hub of that machine. You got to get out of that and get this thing running on its own. So but yeah, with that being said, it's you do have to seek those that have done it. And so I was looking for a group like that. Actually, I was like, getting the Ratchet and Wrench magazine. And so at that point, I was reading articles about RLO training, like, oh wow, there's like training groups out there. You can like learn this stuff. So yeah, and then you got to take the next step. You got to pick up the phone. You got to call them. You got to send an email. You have to take action. Right. And then like at a local level, I got into a little BNI group, I'm networking with other like little business owners. And now today I'm in a Vistage group. These are CEO, level groups that are huge. And I'm not afraid to just send an email and talk to somebody. Like I shout out to Brian Sump, for example. Like he was a guy that didn't know me from Adam, but I kept an eye on him from afar, and I just sent him a message. I'm not now. I hope he doesn't get bombarded with stuff. But anyway, I just like I'm not, sorry, but you be
Sorry,
careful. Yeah, right.
Still
but
love you.
I'm gonna be that nudger, right? And I'm gonna be annoying, right? I'm gonna nudge and ask and be persistent on stuff if I want to learn about it. You got to be the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Because you've got to take it from that inspiration and that intuition to the implementation. You've
Yes.
got to implement, you've got to go and do. And I
Gotta
think
do.
that's where a lot of people fall down and fail, is that they don't take action.
Yeah.
And why? Why don't they take action?
That's a really good question. There's so many people with great ideas, right? And
Okay.
there's so many great ideas. But at the end of the day, it doesn't pay the bills. Ideas really won't, right? You got to you got to implement, you got to get it done. And then
Yeah.
also too, initially that's going to be on you. Initially it's you. And then as you're growing, right? Like building that first store, now I have to get others to help grow that. I have to get buy-in from my people to grow that, right? I have to influence others. I can't, it's the difference between a boss and a leader, right? And
Yeah.
I'll say this too. I was very blessed for that from that, I was lucky, very lucky and blessed to have one full-time job in my life. And that was that same job right out of high school. And I stuck with that company to the end because I loved who I worked for. I loved the people around me. I loved and looked forward to going to work every day. And I wanted to make sure I created that same environment, right? I wanted to be a cool guy to work for. I wanted to create an amazing environment to work for. I wanted to create that trajectory where people could see that they could have a career in this industry. And I wanted people to retire with me, man. I actually had my first retirement last year. We did a little retirement party for one of my employees. And it was so cool to be like, wow, we got a guy retiring, he ended it with us, and those, again, back to those accomplishments. Those are the things that just like, those are the fuzzy feely moments that just make you feel good.
Oh yeah, that feel good moment. That goes a long way. That definitely goes a long way.
Yeah.
Hey, so all of you that are listening, go ahead and chat in your questions, comments, concerns. We've got AJ on here. If you've got a question, we'd love to ask that question of AJ, so that maybe you're in a similar situation. Maybe you've got a question. Maybe you've got some plan of action that you're looking at, and maybe you need a little bit of feedback on it, or some strong love. I'm going to go back to this idea of implementation. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people fail because of the fear of failure. But I want to take it one step further here too, AJ, and give me your feedback on this. Do you think they also fail because they fear success?
That I couldn't answer, but the fear of failure, it is something I've struggled with personally, right? And I think that's also some back end motivation for me. Like I can't fail, right? And I'm an all in guy. I think all in is a term I use a lot with my people. Like when I started that first location, I was all in. I don't recommend this, by the way. This is just my story, right? But,
Mm-hmm.
not having any kids, I had the ability to just go all in. I'll live in my truck if I have to. I really don't care, because this is how passionate I am about this. And this is how confident I am in getting this done. And like I said, I maxed out every credit card. I was getting credit cards that had, 0% financing for 18 months, just maxing that out. Like, I'll pay that off later. And, just doing all this stuff to implement and see it through and being all in. And I'm still that way today. Right. And at 5 stores, yeah, just to be open and honest, we have profitability issues, right? Adding a lot of stores that we need to ramp up and make profitable. Right. So, sometimes you just kind of, you're in the red a lot, month after month sometimes. But again, I'm an all-in guy. I'll sell the house if I have to. I don't care. I see what exists on the other side, and I will see it through. I'll see it to the end, and I'm going to make sure no one else suffers. I'll be the one that takes that brunt, because it's on me. I'm taking extreme ownership. I'm the captain of the ship, and I see the iceberg, so we're going to make a turn here, right? But I'm as an all-in guy, I don't I don't need much, right? And I don't need all the fancy glitz and glamour, this, that, and the other. In the fancy car, in the fancy house, whatever. I'll sell it all to make this happen and see it through. And I think so that fear of failure, just knowing that I can't fail, is something that probably drives me to continue to do. Because if I freeze and not take action, that's the worst thing, right? And the thing as a leader is you have to make a decision, whether it's right or wrong. You have to take action. You have to make a decision. And sometimes there's a scenario that exists too, where we're making a decision now is a decision, right? I can't make a decision on this. I will make a decision at a later date on this issue, whatever it might be. But yeah, you have to continue to take action. Now, the fear of success, that's something that doesn't resonate with me. I actually have had this conversation with some where they, sometimes they have a fear of like raising their labor rates, or, working on gross profit profitability, or whatever that may be, because they fear that they're going to just turn their customers away, or they're going to lose all their customers, because there is a fear. Maybe there's a fear there that exists, and I wouldn't know how to define it, but that was one of the things for me. I remember when I was behind my house, I was at $85 an hour. And it's so funny, because I always tell people this. I'm at like 170 now. Wow. So I'm literally double. So what just dawned on me right there. So I'm at 170 now. But the same people that complain at $170 an hour are the same. It's the same percentage and same number that complained when I was at $85 an hour. Right. So that noise will always exist. And you can't let the noise of the 1%, the 2%, or less define to dictate the decisions that you make within your company. It's just not true. It's math, not magic, that we look at daily. So the fear of success, if people are getting too profitable, they feel I don't deserve this. What do they call it? The imposter syndrome is another term used sometimes. They feel I don't deserve this success. That is something you'll have, and how you get over that, I don't really know, because honestly, I haven't kind of dealt that myself. I do think I've been extremely blessed. As a believer, I believe God's given me this ability to do this every day. So for me, I look at it like I've been tapped for a reason, right? And I'm on a mission at this point to see it through and not squander this opportunity that I've been given, right? We don't own anything in this world. We're just stewards. I want to manage what's been created for me, and I want to do that every day.
I love it. I love that your commitment level is 200%. You're not just in it 100%. You're doing whatever it takes. And I've heard these stories of scenarios where the ship comes across and they're in a new land and everybody's getting a little upset. What does the captain do? Burns the ships. Guys, we're going to do this.
100%. Yes, exactly. And that's why I'm a bad poker player, because I'm like, I'm all in. Here you go. I'm all in. And I'm like, oh,
I got a pair. I'm all in.
I'm all in. Yeah.
Oh man, this is so awesome. This is so cool. So some of the questions coming through is AJ, where have you been with your coaching? Where are you getting your direction, your guidance? You mentioned John Waffler. You mentioned our RLO.
Yep.
Now the
RLO. Yep.
Institute.
Now the Institute. Yep. Yeah, I am in some other peer industry groups. I'm in a tire specific group now because I think something with our industry is being really heavy in service. I want to learn again. I want to be the dumbest person in the room. I want to
Mhm.
learn more on tires, right? Tire sales strategy, tire service. There's so much. That is like a completely no, it's another animal that I'm just learning. Right, I'm just dipping my toe in the water there. I kind of mentioned about my Vistage group. That's a local CEO roundtable group, and they have Vistage groups all over the place. And that actually came as a recommendation again when I talked to Brian Sump. That was that little nugget of info that I like. Oh wow, what is that? Let me do some digging on that. And there are CEO roundtable groups everywhere. But one big thing I was always yearning before I learned about this group was I wanted to find, what's great about the automotive peer groups, the thing is, unfortunately, you meet say 3 or 4 times a year and that's it, right? You got to travel somewhere. And
Right.
with this group, I love because they're in my backyard, right? And they're in different industries and I get to see them more often. And, my Vistage chair, Wayne, I kind of consider him also like a personal leadership development coach. He's been instrumental. He's been there. He's done that. He started a business. He sold it. He's retired now. He does this because he loves it. And I just love just networking. I'm networking now with just another level of individuals I never thought I'd be in the room with, And I look back at this stuff. I'm just like laughing a lot of times because I'm like, AJ, did you ever think that you would like be like? Here's an example. I got invited to an Orioles game in their suite, to go and like it's all expenses paid for. Come in, some other business leaders, this, that, and the other. It's just like how did I get here? It's just I'm
Yeah.
just like I'm just like pinch me. It's just amazing the what I've been blessed with, and the people that I've met and wanting to continue to grow and get better every day. And so that growth mindset's another key thing, right? Like that's a foundational thing. One of our core values is grow or die, right? And I really instill that in everybody, whether it's professionally or personally, right? I want everyone to be a better father or a better mother or better wife, husband, whatever it is, to just better themselves every day. And I just look back at where I've been, where I am, and shoot, where I could be in another 5 to 10 years, right? And so always networking with and just finding out where they are. You have to go where they are, and like I said, if there isn't a seat, make one, right? And just and earn your way in there.
Nice, nice. Yeah, because you'll get your way in there, and now you've got to earn your seat. You've got to earn the ability to stick around and stay around with these like-minded
Yes,
individuals.
yes.
Local CEO group, which
Hmm.
is awesome, right there in your backyard. They give you a different perspective
Hmm.
than all of us that are in the automotive industry, and I'm
Yep.
sure you're able to give them different perspective as well.
Yeah, exactly. And with those groups, I'm all about accountability, right?
Yeah,
I'm big on like I love that book, Extreme Ownership, right? And it's just so true. I mean, it should be in anyone's life. Like, just look in the mirror. Don't blame the current president or the politics or this, that, or the other. Like, just focus on what you can control every day. Look in the mirror and just that's the accountability mirror, as David Goggins says it, right? He looks in there every day. If I'm fat in the mirror, I can only blame myself, right? And with that, at the end of the day, on accountability, I'm big on accountability. So if I'm in a like-minded group that
yeah,
will hold me accountable,
yeah.
again, back to that fear of failure, like I don't want to let that person down. That person's counting on me. And so, and I'm not one to go through the motions and just show up. Like I'm here to participate and win, right, and get it done. So.
I love it. I love it. I love your passion. I love your experience. I love your story. This is an amazing story. And this brings us to maybe the final question, but it's also about the inspiration and the future. I heard the other day you say once upon a time you wanted 10 locations by 2035. And then you changed your tune and said, why only 10? I want 100 by 2035.
Yeah, it's true. It sounds crazy to say it, right? And we call it the BHAG, right? The big, hairy, audacious goal. And when I started this, I thought 10 shops by 2035. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? And as we've kind of grown this business, and as quickly as we we grew it, and to see the potential of what's out there, right? It's all up here. I will say that it's all mental. It's all what you're visualizing and what your mindset's going to be. And 10xing it in 15 years, I'm realizing like, oh my goodness, we why not 3, right? Like why can't we do this in 3 years? And so
You're halfway there.
Yeah, and so we're at 5, and by the end of 2025, we want to be at 10 stores, and then we want to be at 100 by 2035, right? And so now I have a very clear plan about how to get to 10, right? But as far as 10 to 100, there's an unknown, right? I have formulated ideas. I've started conversations that's going to, honestly, at the end of the day, I can't go to my community bank to help finance to get to 100, right? So there's going to need to be some outside funds and some institutional money that exists that would help drive that. And that's potentially part of the plan to make that happen. But I'm not in a scenario to where, I got so much fire in the belly. Like I'm not selling, now. I'm not selling in 3 years. I'm into this for a long time. So why not grow it? And why can't we do it? Right. And it's going to take a team. It's going to take a leadership team that gets us there. And it's the people that are bought in to make this vision a reality. So I think what's worse is than saying going for 100 and not making it is going for 10 and then hitting it. Right. Because what else could I have done? Right. So I don't want to sell myself short. And, shoot, if we get to 50, we got the 50, if we didn't get to 100, but man, shoot for the stars. If you land on the moon too, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And that's a great scenario you were just laying out there. If you shoot for 10 and hit 10, hey, that's great. Yeah. You hit your goal. We got this BHAG out at 100. What if we only come in with 35? What if we only hit 50? What if we get 79? That's pretty dang freaking cool.
Yeah, I'm not gonna beat myself over with that.
Right? You wouldn't. Absolutely not. And you've got this passion and this. So and I agree with you. My wife and I were having a discussion last night, and we were talking about having the vision of where we're going to go, vision of what we want to do, and she says, and when we come to this conclusion, we don't know exactly how to get there, but we know that task number 1, 2, and 3, we can do 1, 2, and 3. When we're done with 3, we'll know what 4, 5, and 6 is. And so you take it task by task by task, and you have those deadlines on yourself so that you can eventually get to that vision, whether it's 100 in 10 years, or 79 in 10 years, or 10 in 10 years.
Yeah, 100%. Let's think. If someone was able to engineer a pathway to get to 100, you might as well just blow up those plans, because it never goes to plan at that level, right? And so you're right. Yeah, just look at that step in front of you. Take that step. Take that action. Move that needle. And again, always having that 10,000 foot view, right? Looking down inside your organization, that's going to help get you there, right? The people that are going to help get you there as well. And
because the people that got you here, are they the same people that can get you there?
Generally, they won't. And actually, we kind of went through a bit of a shakeup with our own leadership team, right? And it's rough. It's really rough, because this team did get me to 5, but unfortunately, there was a shakeup there, and it takes a certain mindset, right? And it's going to take. I need a like-minded. I mean, not like I'm going to be able to clone myself, right? But I need some like-minded individuals with just that small business mindset to understand what it's going to take to kind of grow and get us to the next level, right? And maybe that next crew is going to get me to 10, but they won't get me to 25, right? And so, and maybe there's a, this is a scenario that could exist. Maybe I'm a self-limiting individual that I'm stuck at 25, but I'll have to remove myself as chief cheerleader, put someone else in that role to get us to 100, right? And those scenarios exist. So I also have to realize and look in the mirror at myself. What am I doing that's hindering this company from growing and moving in the right direction?
Yeah, you're on the right path. You're going in the right direction. You're hitting the right nails on the head. Just this past weekend, we were in Puerto Rico and heard a speaker, Walt, NBA basketball player, 3 years in the NBA, played for the Jazz for one of those years. And he said in school he was a C student. He always was just happy to have that C. Occasionally got a D or an F, but he certainly did not accident into a B or an A. And with your passion, with your purpose, you are seeking the A plus plus, and you're going to
100%.
find it. You
Yeah.
definitely are going to find it. And to your credit, there'll come a moment when you are looking at the machine, the business, and you see, wow, maybe I'm the cog that needs to be replaced at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a scenario, and those stories exist, and those are great stories to hear, honestly, because I actually I know someone from that I've met through my Vistage group that went through that growth phase, and they were had a meteoric rise, but he realized he was self limiting, and so he just kind of took more of just a silent owner role, and he inputted a CEO to kind of replace him to get them to the next level, right? Just takes a certain mindset to get you there.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely amazing. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Put them in quick because we're riding up at the top of the hour. AJ, this has been an absolutely phenomenal and an honor to be able to sit down and discuss with you your business, your vision, your inspiration,
Yeah, and
indigestion,
indigestion.
because it's
People
inspiration
may
or
wonder why.
intuition.
Yeah, people
That's
may
gonna,
wonder why I don't have any hair. So yeah, there's enough stories for for why there's no hair, right? So
so
yeah,
so there's still runway for me. That's what you're saying.
yeah, you're looking good, and that's the thing. I had the receding thing going, and then man, I was 27. I had someone tell me like, "Man, you're looking a little thin back here." I was like, "Oh no, I'm not." And literally the next day, I just shaved it all off. That's it. It's gone. So you're good, Jimmy. You're looking great. So don't change a thing.
Cool. And I'm right on the edge of turning 50.
Hey, congrats, man.
Hey, right on, right on, right on. Hey, we're going to throw this back up there. Any questions, comments, concerns? We'd love to hear from you. This is my email. This is my cell phone. My name is Jimmy Lea. I am KUKUI. I'm here to help you. As we lock arms as an industry, we can have that same passion and purpose that you see in AJ. We can lock arms together to get us there. This is a crazy storm we're in. Not all ships are created equal. Let's lock arms together and make sure that we all make it there. Aloha to you all. Thank you, AJ.
Thank you, Jimmy. Pleasure being here, man. Love it.
Thank you, brother.